Hey everyone, I'm Karen. I say, taking a deep breath as my fingers nervously twist the gold band on my left hand. Where do I even start? I guess at the beginning, right? I'm 32, living in a cozy suburban home with my husband John. From the outside, we probably seem like the perfect couple, hosting barbecues, snuggling up for movie nights, and taking the occasional vacation. But appearances can be deceiving. Honey, what do you think about inviting the Johnsons over this weekend? I ask, trying to keep my tone light as I chop vegetables for dinner. John looks up from his phone, his brow furrowing slightly. The Johnsons? I don't know, Karen. Doesn't Mark drink a little too much? Maybe we should just have a quiet night in. I feel a familiar pang of disappointment. Oh, okay. I just thought it might be nice to see some friends. We don't need other people to have a good time, do we? John smiles, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes. This is how it always goes. Any suggestion I make is subtly shot down, always with a seemingly reasonable excuse. It's been happening more and more lately, and I can't help but wonder when things started to change. I remember when John and I first got married, he was so supportive, always encouraging me to chase my dreams. Now it feels like he's slowly boxing me in, narrowing my world until it's just the two of us. Later that week, I meet up with my best friend Zoe for coffee. She's been my rock since college, and I can see the concern in her eyes as I vent about work. I've been thinking about applying for that marketing position at Tech Innovations, I say, stirring my lie absently. Zoe perks up. That's amazing, Karen. You'd be perfect for it. I smile weakly. Yeah, but I'm not sure if John would be on board. He thinks I'm already working too much as it is. Zoe's face falls slightly. Karen, can I ask you something? Do you ever feel like John is holding you back? Her question hits me like a ton of bricks. I want to deny it, to defend him, but I can't find the words. Instead, I change the subject, asking her about her new puppy. As I drive home, Zoe's question lingers in my mind. Is John holding me back? That night, as we settle in for our usual TV marathon, I decide to broach the subject. So I was thinking about applying for a new job. I say, watching his reaction carefully. John's jaw tightens slightly. What's wrong with your current job? Nothing's wrong. I just think this could be a great opportunity for growth. Karen, you know how demanding new jobs can be. We hardly see each other as it is. Maybe it's not the right time. And there it is again, the subtle manipulation wrapped up in concern for our relationship. A familiar mix of frustration and guilt washes over me. As I lie in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I wonder, when did I start second-guessing every decision? When did John's opinion become the deciding factor in my life choices? I love him, I really do, but I can't shake the feeling that something needs to change. I'm just not sure I'm ready to face what that might mean. Guess who just landed an amazing job at Tech Vision? I burst through the front door, practically bouncing with excitement. John looks up from his laptop, his expression a mix of surprise and something else I can't quite place. You got the job. That's great, honey. It's more than great, John. This could be a game changer for us. The salary is fantastic, and there's so much room for growth. Well, congratulations. I hope it doesn't interfere with our plans too much. I feel my smile falter slightly but push through. It won't, I promise. This is going to be good for both of us. As the weeks pass, I throw myself into my new role. The office is buzzing with energy, and I find myself thriving. My mentor, Gabrielle, takes me under her wing, showing me the ropes. Karen, your ideas for the new campaign are brilliant, Gabrielle says during our weekly catch-up. Keep this up and you'll be climbing the ladder in no time. Her words fill me with a warmth I haven't felt in ages. It's nice to be appreciated, to have my efforts recognized. Jake from It becomes an unexpected ally, always ready with a joke or a helping hand whenever technology decides to rebel against me. Karen, you've got to stop sweet-talking the printer. It's making the other machines jealous, Jake quips one day as he fixes yet another paper jam. I can't help but laugh. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. What can I say? I'm irresistible to all things electronic. I joke as Jake finally fixes the printer. As I settle into my new routine, though, I start to notice John becoming more and more distant. One night, after a team-building event, I come home late to find him waiting up, his face like a thundercloud. Another late night, huh? I guess I should get used to eating dinner alone, he says, his tone dripping with resentment. I sigh, setting my bag down. John, we talked about this. Sometimes there will be after-work events. It's part of the job. Part of the job, right? And I suppose that guy hanging around you is just part of the job too. His voice sharpens and I feel a flash of anger. His name is Jake, and yes, he's a colleague. Nothing more. John scoffs, crossing his arms. Sure, because nothing ever happens between colleagues, right? The accusation stings. I can't believe you'd even suggest that. I thought you'd be happy for me. I'm finally doing something I love. Happy that I barely see my wife anymore, that every conversation is about your precious job. I take a deep breath, trying to stay calm. That's not fair. I'm still here, still committed to us. But I need this, John. I need to feel like I'm growing, achieving something. And what about what I need? What about our plans to start a family? The words hang in the air between us. We had talked about kids before, but it was always a someday thing, not a right now thing. We can still have that, John. But right now, I need to focus on my career. Is that really so wrong? John doesn't respond. He just turns and walks out of the room, leaving me standing there, torn between two worlds. The next day at work, I try to push the argument out of my mind, but it lingers like a bad taste. Gabrielle, my mentor, notices my distraction. Everything okay, Karen? You seem a million miles away. I force a smile. Just a bit of home stress. Nothing I can't handle. Gabrielle gives me a knowing look. Remember, your success isn't a threat to anyone who truly cares about you. It's okay to prioritize yourself sometimes. Her words hit home, and I feel a lump forming in my throat. I want to believe her, to fully embrace this new chapter in my life. But as I sit at my desk, staring at a photo of John and me from happier times, I can't help but wonder, is it possible to have it all? Or am I destined to choose between my marriage and my career? My birthday was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to bridge the growing gap between John and me. I spent hours planning a small dinner party, hoping it would bring us closer. So, you're coming, right? I really need you there, I said over the phone, my voice betraying my nerves. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Honorable want me to bring anything. I laughed, feeling a bit lighter. Just your charming self. And maybe some of that wine John likes. As I finished setting the table, John walked in, his face stormy. We need to talk, Karen. My heart sank. Can it wait? The guest will be here soon. No, it can't. I want you to quit your job. I froze, nearly dropping a plate. Quit? John, what are you talking about? You're never home. Always with your work friends. I bet that Jake guy is just waiting for his chance. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's ridiculous. I love my job, and there's nothing going on with Jake or anyone else. What about our home? When's the last time you cooked a proper meal, or did the laundry? The doorbell rang, interrupting our heated exchange. I plastered on a smile and welcomed our guests, trying to act like everything was fine. But as we sat down to eat, the tension was unbearable. Zoe kept shooting me concerned glances while Gabrielle tried to keep the conversation flowing. Karen's been doing amazing work, Gabrielle said with a smile. We're lucky to have her. I saw John's jaw clench. Yeah, lucky you get to see more of my wife than I do. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. I cleared my throat, desperate to change the subject. Who's ready for cake? As I brought out the beautifully decorated cake, John suddenly stood up. No one's having cake until we settle this. Karen, it's your job or me. Choose. I stared at him, shocked. John, please, not now. Not like this. Choose, he shouted, causing everyone to flinch. Tears welled in my eyes, but I straightened my back. I choose my career, my independence. I choose me. What happened next felt like it unfolded in slow motion. John's face twisted in disbelief. Zoe gasped quietly. I stood there, heart pounding, watching as the man I once thought I'd spend my life with stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. The silence in his wake was deafening. John's face twisted with rage, and before anyone could react, he grabbed the cake and smashed it onto my head. Frosting dripped down my face as I stood there, humiliated and heartbroken. Our guests gasped in shock, and Zoe rushed to my side, her eyes wide with disbelief. Karen, she exclaimed, pulling me toward her as I wiped frosting from my eyes. Through the sugary mask, I saw the stunned expressions of everyone around me. and the cruel satisfaction on John's face. It was like I was seeing him clearly for the first time. I couldn't stand it any longer. I fled the house, hearing Zoe call after me, but I kept running, my heart pounding in my chest until I collapsed onto a park bench. Sobs racked my body, the weight of years of frustration and heartbreak crashing down all at once. A gentle hand touched my shoulder, and I looked up to see Zoe, breathless but full of concern. "Oh, honey," she whispered softly, pulling me into a hug. I cried in my best friend's arms, covered in cake and streaks of mascara, finally realizing that this was more than just a bad night. This was the culmination of years of subtle control, manipulation, and emotional abuse. "I can't go back," I whispered. "You don't have to," Zoe assured me. "You can stay with me as long as you need." As we sat there in the dark park, something shifted inside me. The pain was still raw, but beneath it, a spark of determination flickered to life. This wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter. The days after my disastrous birthday were a blur of tears and tough decisions. With Zoe by my side, I packed up my life into cardboard boxes. "You're doing the right thing, Maddie," Zoe reassured me as we loaded the last box into her car. I nodded, taking one final look at the house I once called home. "I know, it's just hard." At work, I threw myself into projects, finding comfort in the support of my colleagues. One day, Gabrielle pulled me aside, her face serious. "Karen, John's been calling the office, making accusations." My heart sank. "What kind of accusations?" "Nothing we believe." "Honey, we've got your back." True to her word, the company stood by me, and as John's lies fell apart, I began to find my footing again. I thrived in my work, my confidence growing as I rebuilt the pieces of my life. News of John trickled in over time. He had lost his job, alienated his friends. Then, one evening, I received a call from a mutual acquaintance. "Karen, thought you should know, John's been arrested for a DUI." I felt a complex mix of emotions, sadness, relief, a twinge of guilt, but mostly, I felt free. Later that night, I sat on Zoe's balcony, looking out at the city lights. I thought about the woman I was a year ago, trapped in a toxic marriage, and the woman I had become, strong, independent, surrounded by genuine love and support. My journey hadn't been easy, but it had led me here, to a life full of possibilities. As I sipped my tea, I made a silent promise to myself, to never again dim my light for anyone, and to always choose my own happiness. The future stretched out before me, bright and full of promise, and for the first time in a long time, I couldn't wait to see what it held. That's the end of my story.